Good evening, it's Dr. Jen Kordonsky at Optimal Spine Chiropractic. Sorry, we got a little bit of a late start this evening, but I am here this evening with the class Living with Less Stress. Always a big topic of concern for most of us living in this day and age. I want to touch on the fact that stress comes in three categories you may not have really thought about, but we have physical stress, we have chemical stress, and we have what we typically think of as stress, what we'll just call emotional stress, a mental emotional stress. So physical stress, could be an injury, poor posture. Chemical stress is maybe, eating things that aren't necessarily healthy for you, or drugs or medications that have to go into your body. But there's a chemical stress. And then, you know what emotional stress is. We have all experienced that, right? But I want you to understand that everything in your life, everything, stressful, physically, chemically, or emotional, or wonderful, but everything that happens to your body or around you, even below the level of perception, is detected and perceived by your nerve system. So right now, your body, your nerve system, is perceiving the temperature of the room that you're in, and it is interpreting what information it's getting from your nerve system in the brain, and your body is adapting and changing. Maybe your blood flow is being diverted. Maybe you get goosebumps. And then that will then lead you to take different actions. Maybe you get a sweater or whatever it is. So that's happening all of the time. Your nerve system is constantly perceiving the environment that you are in. Your brain is constantly processing the information that it's receiving, filtering that information through your own filters, your life experience. When something happens to you, your brain is going to perceive that through a lens that is unique to you, based on your previous life experiences. And then your brain, through your nerve system, is going to change your physiology and maybe make you take different actions. And so our whole life is lived through the nerve system. Stress is something that happens through the nerve system. But the vast majority of stress that you will experience is of the emotional, mental variety. So even if you have a physical stress, somebody pushes you down the stairs, that is a physical stress to your body. There is a component of it, a huge component of it, that is mental emotional, right? It's how we react to that, our perception of that. So mental and emotional stress is something that happens within us, in our mind, in our body. It's not something that happens to us. And it's hard for us to separate those things, because when we think of stress, we'll name the external thing. So you're saying, I have a lot of stress these days. I've got this going on in my family, and I've got this going on in my work, and blah, blah, blah. We name the thing outside of us. That's not the stress response. The stress response is something that happens in you. So here's an example, if it helps you make sense of this. So if you were to dump a glass of water on someone's head, that might make them mad. But the water didn't make them mad. The water made them wet. What made them mad was their perception, their brain's reaction to the experience of getting wet. Now, if you're a bunch of kids outside on a hot summer day and someone dumps a glass of water on your head, that might make you laugh hysterically. That might make you happy. That might make you feel refreshed. So it's not the getting wet. So that's the external stimulus. The stress that we experience, anxiety, sadness, anger, fear, that is all an internal experience. And that internal experience is going to have a huge impact on your physiology, right? So there's an actual, even though what happens is really in the brain, that can change your heart rate, your blood pressure. It can change the hormones that your body is producing. It can change how your food is being digested. Being in the stress state will even change the components of your blood and actually make you more likely to form a blood clot because it's complicated. But anyway, there's a huge physiological change in all of your body systems that you may or may not even detect. So that can take a toll on your health. And then it's also going to influence the way you interact with your environment, the way other people interact with you. So working on your reaction to life's stresses, so really working on your stress response can just be absolutely life-changing. And it may really seem like life is happening to you. You know, what's going on with your body and your friends and your family feels like it's happening to you. But there is so much influence that you have on that. And by changing you, you're going to change your circumstances. Not only will your internal physiology change, you know, you can have, let's say, arthritis in a joint, something we see on people's x-rays all the time. But being in that stressed state, for example, that sympathetic stress state creates more inflammatory chemicals floating through your bloodstream, and then you will feel pain more acutely than if those inflammatory chemicals weren't there. When you change who you are and the state and the way that you react to the world, then the world has to change the way it reacts to you. You know, I've been in many situations where I used to believe that the relationship I had with this, you know, particular person was a certain way. And so my expectation was that, you know, it might be a stressful encounter. And when I realized that I'm part of that, you know, I thought it was them, but I'm part of that. And I can't change the way they react to things, but I can change the way I react to things. And in changing me, people have no choice but to change the way they respond to you. And ultimately, when you start working on your responses, you'll start making different choices in life unconsciously and put yourself in different circumstances, and then therefore your entire world can change. Now, it's not usually instantaneous. Your pattern of responses and the way you react to the world emotionally and the energy then you therefore put out is a conditioned, patterned response that you've had over many, 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 many years. So changing it is also a gradual process, but consciously looking at the world differently, consciously working on your response to the things that happen to you. Even though it is a gradual process, it can make huge changes in your life. And I think one of the best places to start is by asking questions and noticing. So we don't have to say, okay, well, previously when X happened to me, I'd get angry, and that would, you know, change my physiology, and it's causing my blood pressure to go up, and it's causing me to be in pain more often, and then it's also causing me to drive recklessly and have a car accident. Instead of saying, okay, well, I used to react in anger, and now I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to let that not bother me anymore, or I'm going to make myself be happy in this situation. Well, is that really realistic? But first notice. First say, oh, what just happened there? I'm feeling a feeling. Isn't that interesting? And don't judge it. Don't be judgmental of yourself. That doesn't help. You may realize that, oh, I don't want to have that feeling anymore, but don't have the like, oh, there I go again, you know, being angry, and judge yourself. So notice it and then ask the question, you know, is there any way I could see this differently? You know, the classic example of being stuck in traffic and feeling, furious and getting all stressed out, the fact that you're stuck in traffic and it's going to make you late and da 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 da. Well, just saying to yourself, how can I see this differently? Well, maybe by me sitting here, that's keeping me from getting in an accident down the road that would have happened had I not been stuck here. So just shifting your perspective, asking questions, asking yourself, what is the good that could possibly be in this situation? When something happens to you that you don't like and it's going to create that stress response in you, ask yourself, what's the good? What am I missing here? How could this benefit me? How could ultimately this be for my best interest? And we've all had an experience at some point in life where something that seemed like it wasn't going to be so good ended up being the best thing that could have happened for us. And the opposite is true. Sometimes something looked like it was going to be, all wonderful, and it turns out, maybe that wasn't the best thing for me. So it's about perspective. It's about asking the question, how can I see this differently? Noticing your response, and that will gradually lead you to start shifting a little bit at a time. I have a couple of great videos on actual skills that you can practice, techniques that you can practice to make yourself more adaptable to stress. There's a stress solutions series that I think on June 29th and April 20th of this year, there's 2 classes, Living with Less Stress. And then one recorded last year in November that if you're in this month, you'll hear us talking about gratitude all month. It's called Don't Worry, Be Happy, the Gratitude Edition. And there's a couple of other Don't Worry, Be Happy classes. So if this is of interest to you and you feel like you would like to improve every aspect of your life, whether it be physical or everything that goes on around outside of you in your relationships, and you know that that comes from the inside, and you want to start working on this process, I would love to have you engage with listening. You don't even have to watch, but just listening to maybe one of those videos a week for the next few weeks. Just get the wheels turning. Start thinking a little differently. And that might open the doors to you to, trying some of the tools that we suggest, or finding another influence in your life that's going to help you continue this gradual process of change. But if you can change the way you see the world, then the world changes around you. And living with less stress isn't about making stress go away. There's always going to be things that happen. It's really about changing the way we see those things, the way we react to those things. I want to point out that your chiropractic care is a huge benefit to your stress response and your stress physiology. When you are in the stress state that life tends to put us in, like I said, there's an impact on everything from your blood makeup to, how your heart rate and all of that. It affects your physical body. When you get adjusted, that adjustment is talking to your brain and telling your nerve system something. It's a huge influx of information when we move the spinal joints to the brain, and it helps reset. The sympathetic overload gets turned down. That fight or flight response gets turned down and then balanced out with the parasympathetic response, which is where we need balance for normal physiology, for healthy function. And if you think about it, a subluxation is literally a stress signal in your central nerve system all day, every day, even if you don't have pain from it. An abnormally moving joint is sending a little ping to your brain over and over. Something's wrong here, something's wrong here, something's wrong here. So it keeps you in that stress state. There's great research all around how chiropractic benefits the sympathetic response, the stress response. So I'm so happy that you're getting adjusted. Keep taking good care of your nerve system. And I challenge you to watch a couple of these other videos. And if we can do anything to help you, then please let us know. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.